Hi, David Hart here again from G4 Guitar, and this time I'm going to talk about scales. Fantastic scales are something that you will use a lot in your guitar playing if you want to be a serious guitar player. Scales are used for all different things. They're really the basis to melodies and solos and any kind of lead playing, riff playing. So you really want to get into learning scales. Scales are really good for getting your fingers into sort of familiarizing themselves with the neck, so it's easy to learn things. So you can see when I'm improvising here, but I'm just say we're playing over a basic sort of progression. It's my knowledge of scales that allows me to have fun and jam with other other guitarists, other musicians generally, and knowing how to play scales and practicing scales, more importantly, will really improve your playing much more than you expect, much more than you think. And scales by themselves can seem boring, but when you practice them and then you come to play, you really feel the difference. So I really encourage you to spend plenty of time practicing your scales. Make it an important part of your practice. So what is a scale? Let's just really understand what a scale is. It's very simple. A scale is just simply a series of notes, and there's all different types of scales. We have what we call the C scale, which is this one here, and that's really just playing the notes in the key of C. If you go to a piano, that'll be just playing the white notes. Forget about the black notes, but just stick to the white notes. The guitar is a little bit harder to see that, but you can see it very easily on a piano. So if you know anyone, or you've got a piano, go and check it out and see how it compares. But that scale, if I learn that scale, that when I come to learn songs in the key of C, then I'm able to recognize the notes more easily because my fingers already know the shape of the scale and know where those notes are. So it's easier for me to predict which note is right. So when you come to learning lots of songs, lots of your favorite songs, you're going to be so glad that you invested time into scales. And there aren't that many scales that you need to learn most songs, so it's really worth just learning those half a dozen scales that are really important. It's kind of the 80-20 that we talk about. Stick to the scales that matter. So what do you need to know about scales when you practice them? Number one is to aim for the legato sound. So if you hear when I'm playing that, there's two kind of basic sounds that you have when you're playing a scale. One is staccato and the other is legato. So staccato is broken, so it's like that, which has its role, but when you're learning to play scales, it's more likely you're going to sound staccato because of the change between each note. So the legato is what you're aiming for. It's to get that change without the gap. You can hear there. And it's really about synchronizing the two hands. So when I'm coming down on the pick there, I also want to come down on the note at the same time. So there's a synchronization there, and that's really what you're going to be working on. And that's why we practice scales, so we can learn that synchronization and really get our hands together. More so than, say, a piano player, it's really important. Piano players, sure, they've got two hands and they've still got to sync, but with guitar players, if we don't sync, the note doesn't happen. If we pick too soon, or we press down the note too soon, we cut the other note short. So synchronization is critical for guitar players. So the other thing is again, the same as we were speaking about with chords earlier, is to make sure that your fingers are near the frets. So they're right up there, right up tight into the fret. And so whenever you're playing a scale, eventually what happens is that you don't have to press hard. At the beginning, right now, you feel like you're probably going to have to press pretty hard to get those notes to come out. But you can see here, I'm going to show, this is what we call hammering and pulling off. And the idea is that I wouldn't get those notes if I wasn't near the fret. If you watch when I'm doing it, you can see how my finger is right near the fret each time. And that means that I don't have to press too hard, and that's really the important thing there. So when you're practicing scales, practice getting in tight on each of those frets, and then when it comes to playing faster, every note will come quickly. So that's the idea, and that's really the main points. If the only other thing I would add there is if you're not getting notes coming out clear, then have a look at whether you're playing on the tips of your fingers or you're tending to be a bit flat. So again, the same as the chords, being on the tip and being up close to the fret. Okay, hopefully that's helped you, and let's move on to the next skill.